I think in keeping in line with our literated letter of P, the podcast, and I'd also put in prayer and partnerships. You got to partner with people. Don't try to do it by yourself. Partner. I mean, fine if you don't feel comfortable just going to someone individually, get in a partnership or a coalition of pastors, and then also just understanding Black culture and Black history. George and I have been forced, to understand white history and the narrative that comprises the kind of romantic notion that people have of America. We've had to learn that. We read it, we understand it, but to understand Black literature, understand Black history, that's not just the month of February, but it's a rich cultural experience. And I think if you understand our heritage and heroes and heroines and those who have made contributions, but I think a lot of it is just a lack of awareness and just not really understanding and being so biased, in one's own culture and one's own privilege. I saw a definition about privilege, and it stated that privilege doesn't mean that white privilege doesn't mean that you haven't had a hard life. It just means your life hasn't been harder because of the color of your skin. So it doesn't mean you haven't had a hard life. It just means it hadn't been harder because of the color of your skin. But I mean, definitely just starting out with any books by Dr. Martin Luther King. There's a lot of great artists and authors now that are writing books on not only reconciliation, but just what it means to be a non-racist, how to raise your kids being a non-racist, or how to just have a conversation with a person of color. Yeah. And you'd be surprised, but I think a lot of it is just old stereotypes and just a lack of awareness. But conversation, we're all one nation.
Yeah. Matt, if I can add something real quick, and a great mind of Dr. Lawrence Aker birthed this in me because of his well span of knowledge, is to watch a documentary, to read books on history. Just go to PBS, watch the documentary on the rise of African American people, Henry Louis Gates. Watch his documentary on Reconstruction. And so when you do have that conversation with your African American friend, or a budding friendship, or trying to gain that friendship, you're coming from a base where empathy on the other person is easier to have, because wait a minute, they at least did their homework. They thought through this. They didn't just come to me and say, what happened to you, or try to limit it to George Floyd or Eric Gardner. Understand that the pain of African Americans in this social experiment called America has been great, deep, and very profound.
Yeah, I think.
And also, Ava DuVernay has 13th Amendment.
Yeah.
And, when they see us, about the Central Park Five, now known as the Exonerated Five. But I'll be glad to give you a list of resources that we can make available for the listeners and readers, if they would feel comfortable following up on some of those books.
Absolutely.
I can give you a bibliography.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this conversation from the Monday Morning Preacher podcast, discover the full episode at preachingtoday.com/podcast.